guys! Today we are going to talk and share about our past trip to Buenos Aires, Argentina. So we arrived in Buenos Aires by ferry. It was a ferry that was close to Montevideo, and it left around sundown. So we took the ferry, and if I remember correctly, it was only about an hour or so, and then it crossed over into Buenos Aires. So when we arrived, it was nighttime. And this ferry is not like the typical ferries that you see in America. Some of the Europeans are like this, but this one here had it had a little arcade, it had coffee shops, it had boutiques, it had a duty-free shop. It was really, really nice, and the seats were super comfortable. And then it had this big, huge glass window that was coming down like that. So when we were arriving into Buenos Aires, you could see the whole city line of lights and buildings. It was just really, really cool. So we took a taxi ride from the port to our hotel. And as you do in South America, we all squeezed into this taxi, and we had even the luggage on our laps because it didn't fit in the trunk. So it was super crammed in. One of the sad things is we had Tyler's cell phone in the side pouch of a cooler bag. And when we arrived at the hotel, it was just missing. And so, lesson learned, we have to keep the phones on us. So that was kind of a crappy experience. But it is what it is, and it can happen anywhere. So that happened to us. Then we arrived at the hotel, and it was this really nice kind of boutique-ish hotel. Chloe was so exhausted, she literally fell asleep on the couch as we were checking in. She was just tired, done for the day. One funny thing though is in the hotel room there was a shower right in the middle of the room with no privacy, so we had to get a secondary room for the girls because that just wasn't going to work out for us. So we did that. And then the area that it was in is called Palermo, kind of like Sicily, Palermo, and it was an area of the city of Buenos Aires, and it had all these really nice cafes and pubs and shops and stuff. And so the next morning we kind of walked around and discovered the whole area, so that was really cool. After that we ended up going downtown, and then we visited an area called the Boca. And La Boca, that area there, is a really cool kind of tourist area to definitely go see because it has all these colorful buildings. You can even see tango dancers. There's restaurants upon restaurants and shops, and just a really, really nice area of the town to definitely go and see. So we did that. That was really, really nice, really fun. We spent quite a bit of time there. And then after that, we decided to go do a walking tour. We love to go do as many walking tours as we possibly can in each city that we visit, because there you get the true history from people that are from the area, and you get more than you would in a textbook because everything becomes real, right? And they tell you stories that maybe their parents told them or their grandparents told them, so you get kind of the real true history. And Argentina went through some really, really crazy hard times. So some of the stories we heard were just shocking. I had no idea. I didn't know at all that this happened, and it was just really interesting. So I can share a couple stories that were mind-boggling to me. So one of the shocking things that we learned is about all the missing children and missing people. So what happened is there was the Perones that were, the president, Eva Peron, she was the first lady, and they were overtaken by the military, and so it was a military coup, and the military ran the country for many years. And during that time, people couldn't congregate more than 3 people in an area, or else they would be arrested, and basically many of them put to death because they were afraid that they were going against the government. So a lot of university professors, educated people just were like taken, artists, just musicians. It was really sad. And what was crazy, really crazy story, was all the babies that were just like taken away from their families and put into military homes and basically taken their identification papers, birth certificates, everything away and given new identities. So some of these babies still recall and remember their moms calling them by their real names. So deep down inside, they knew that this wasn't their real family. Other babies were literally stolen from birth, and their mothers were dropped out of planes and murdered, basically. And it's just crazy what happened. And so there's these grandmothers. The grandmothers knew because all of a sudden their kids went missing, and grandbabies went missing. And so the grandmothers of Plaza de Mayo is what they kind of are called. Their organization was. They said this is enough, and we want to find our grandbabies. And so now, thanks to DNA testing and thanks to some different organizations and human rights, they were able to reunite many of these stolen babies with their true families and their real grandparents and so on and so forth. So it was crazy. So some of the stories that we heard were just mind-boggling, to say the least. Something that was really crazy as well was like their money is printed several different copies. So for example, like let's say a $10 bill or whatever it might be, they might have like 5 different versions of it. So if you had it, you wouldn't know which is the real one. And so they often have a hard time with controlling that and everything. And it was really strange because we were trying to get money out of ATMs, and you would have like these long lineups, and then you would get there and then there wouldn't be any money in the bank machine or whatever. So we had to try several different banks just to be able to access funds and stuff like that. So something to know. I'm not sure if it's still like that now, but it was when we were there in 2016. So we ended the night by going to the port area, which is called Puerto Madero. There it was like a really nice kind of modern port area. And what was funny is I'm not sure if Buenos Aires has gondolas, but we saw a gondola go by us. So just like you would see in Venice. So I have no idea if that's like the norm or if this was just like a fluke one going by for something that they were doing. But that was interesting. So we did that. We had some ice cream as a treat, and then we went home and off to bed. So the next morning we went to a really cool area, which is a cemetery. I know that doesn't sound like something you would do, but this is a cemetery like no other. You would never see this anywhere. I have never seen it anywhere. Maybe there is cemeteries like this in other parts of the world. But this is where Eva Perón was buried finally, because she has a long story of where her body ended up going and stuff like that. And that's another story. But this cemetery is like this huge, massive city block with these, like, not like a tombstone like you would see in other countries. The tombstones were these like almost like home like things, big huge pillars, like these monumental places where they put the dead. And so we were just like one after the other after the other after the other, and it was just like absolutely amazing to see. So Eva Perón, she has a really interesting story too. She was the first lady of Argentina before it was taken over, and she actually died when she was 33 years old. So she died of cancer, and when she had her funeral, there was literally 3 million people on the streets of Buenos Aires to come and see her funeral. And then when the military took over the country, you weren't allowed to say her name or the Perón name or talk about them or have photos of them, nothing. I mean, like, they just wanted to like basically like take everything about them out. And her body even left the country, and it went to Italy for one point in time, and then Spain, and then finally back to this cemetery called Recoleta Cemetery. So here are some fun facts about Buenos Aires. So it is the #1 visited city in all of South America, #2 in the Latin America. So first is Mexico, then Buenos Aires. It's a massive, massive city. There's not very much greenery. So if you like nature and whatever, it's a big city with not much greenery. But nonetheless, it's beautiful. It had one of the top theaters in the 1800s. It's called the Cologne Theater. So it was like the leading and the most prestigious and beautifulest and top theater in all the world in the 1800s. And it's kind of like a melting pot of different cultures, as probably any big city, but mainly it had a lot of immigrants from Spain and Italy that came in. So you get this European vibe and like a cross mix of kind of Italian, Spanish. And it gained its independence from Spain in 1816 in the month of May. So that's why they have the Place de Mayo, which is their main plaza, and Mayo for May. So that's when they gained their independence, and that's when they celebrate their Independence Day from Spain. I hope you guys enjoyed our video of Buenos Aires. Make sure you guys subscribe, and if you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified of our upcoming videos when we release them. Let us know where you're watching from, and we'll see you next time. Bye!